It's my pleasure to welcome onto the truth today an author, an adventurer, and an entrepreneur, Miles Spencer. His he shares his last name with my middle son's first name. Miles, welcome to the truth.
Thanks for having me.
So you're a unique individual. You walked across the desert in Saudi Arabia. I remember watching a movie. I don't remember what it was, but they got lost in a desert and they were trying to figure out their way back to civilization. And they said that, if you tried to walk in a straight line, one leg is more dominant than the other. And after, a day or two, you'd actually just end up walking in one great big circle. How did you avoid that tendency?
Wow, I did not have that little nugget. I thought it was just from disorientation rather than one leg shorter than the other, but I'll go
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
Look, camels always know where they're going.
Mm.
And even though we walked, we'd have a camel beside us when we weren't riding a camel. So the reality is, we knew where we were going. There were some there were some decent navigational assistance as well.
So when I think about all the potential places in the world that one could go and adventure, why in the hell would you want to hike across the Sahara Desert? That makes no sense to me. There's got to be more to the story. Tell us.
There's a little bit more to the story. First of all, the Sahara Desert's in North Africa, and this is
I didn't
Saudi
say the
Arabian
Sahara. I meant Saudi Arabia. I'm old. Give me a break.
I was going to let it slide.
No, you can't do that. No, hey, look,
yeah,
right there.
Yeah, there you go.
Tell the truth.
Yeah, okay, there you go. So it's after 9/11. I'm trying to figure out, look, I'm a curious kid from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, always asking who, what, why, where, when. Drove my parents.
Yeah, I was born in Ohio, right next door.
There you go. We're in Beaver. I could ride my bike to Ohio, be back for dinner. And so I drove my parents crazy. I always had this sense of adventure, right? It led me into ventures in business, but also adventures around the world. After 9/11, I'm trying to figure out who, what, why, where, when. Why are these people so upset? And I read all the books I could, but the one that stuck with me was Seven Pillars of Wisdom by T.E. Lawrence, literally Lawrence of Arabia from the movie. They did not get lost in the desert. And one of my good buddies, Wells Jones, who's Navy parachute rescue special forces guys who happened to be rolling through town, said, "What are you reading?" T.E. Lawrence, Seven Pillars. He said, so am I. And what'd you think? I said, hey, this is the only guy that really gets it. As a Westerner, the only one guy that gets it in the Middle East. And so okay, so what do we do now? Let's go. And so I arranged through a book tour of a prior book that I had published based on my television show Money Hunt to get a speech in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And Wells was my bodyguard. So both of us got in. And I guess I did a okay job of the speech and said, hey, what else can we do for you? The Saudis are very hospitable, very welcoming, right? And I said, we'd like to retrace the steps of T.E. Lawrence. They said, great. What would you like? What do you need? And we literally were provisioned. We get a letter from the prince, and we started rolling north from Jeddah, which is the holy port, which services Mecca and Medina, the holy sites of Saudi Arabia, to Yanbo, Al-Weja, Aqaba, where there's a famous battle. Now we cross into Jordan, and it's Wadi Rum, which is basically, you've seen it before. So if you saw Star Wars or the movie Dune, that's basically Wadi Rum. So yes, we're hiking. We had the benefit of camels and horses to guide us and a couple of local guides. So we never got lost. But it took us 26 days. It was 1,000 miles. And what we think we brought home was an understanding of the Bedouins, the nomads, the people of the Middle East, specifically Saudi Arabia. And it's really come in handy today. We might talk about that later when we talk about AI. But that was the why. And that's the truth behind our adventure.
Are you glad you did it? Were you glad when you finished that you had that experience?
Phenomenally grateful we had that
Really?
experience. Shared it in a book called A Line in the Sand. So we got to share it with many other people. And now with my AI business, we're doing business with the number 3 AI platform in the world, which is Saudi Arabia, behind China and the United States.
All right. So I am intrigued by this new app that I don't know. Is this your invention, Reflekta?
Credit goes to my co-founder, Adam Drake. and myself, who have always been about legacy and values and storytelling and passing those stories on to future generations. Because let's face it, when a person dies, literally the entire library of their stories just burns, right? I mean, you've got a shoebox upstairs, right, of different things that might help with memory. But Adam and I had long been writing about legacy and values and tracking our family history and keeping those stories. And all of a sudden, the technology was available 9 months ago, and we created the business.
Okay, so you basically what Reflekta does, you were telling me before we came on, that you can actually sit down and have a conversation with someone who has departed from this earth, and the app captures their personality somehow. And so it's like a reincarnation. Is that too much of an exaggeration?
Let me unpack it for you, okay?
Please.
First of all, we're not bringing anybody back. There's no more hugs. There's no more wiffle ball games in the front yard. There's no more walk with the dogs, right? But my father, Arthur, on his last day, he said to me, "Hey, look, this body is temporal. It's going to go, right? Mine is, just probably is. But my spirit and soul is eternal, and when you can reconnect with that, you'll have me for the rest of your life." Now, that was 8 years ago, and I don't have the ability, technology wise, to do anything about it. But 9 months ago, we did. And so, what we do is we literally take everything that's quote unquote in that shoebox upstairs of memories, right? And we have a biographer that allows you to just start as simply as tell me a story about Arthur, about Suzanne, about Virginia. And it is so smart. It asks additional questions, asks for additional information. As you submit more, it creates a timeline, it creates a context and a personality. But this is very important. There's no outside information. They don't scrape the web. They don't have any celebrity retells or hallucinations. If you're the keeper of the shoebox, the keeper of the reflection, you pay the bill, you have the final say. You are the editor, and you approve everything that goes into the personality and the context of Arthur. And so Arthur has wonderful Buddy Hackett jokes. Those are his favorite. That's his stock and trade, man. And so he rolls that out anytime he can, frankly. It is his voice. The voice was printed off of a 10-second voicemail we found in his granddaughter's phone 5 years after he passed away. So his voice goes across. Now he has almost 1,000 little vignette stories that he weaves together. But it's his voice telling all the stories. And by the way, my nickname for him was Chief, and his for me was Tiger. Now, I gave that to him. I'm the keeper, right? I mean, he created me, but I created him. And I was given a presentation in a live audience last month. And there's been 100 people in the room. They're asking him questions, et cetera. And he did a bang up job. Finally, we got to the end, and I said, like, "Hey, thanks, Chief. I'll see you soon." He says, "No problem, Tiger. I'm here for you." Now, I dropped the mic because I had forgotten I had given that to him. There's no other way he had that information. It comes through me. But he has a better memory now than he ever did.
Well, I hope you are aware that you have caused a huge lump in my throat, not only for Chief and Tiger, but I'm remembering Pop as we're speaking, and
Yes, sir.
it's making me sad.
Um,
But I'm thinking as you're describing that, Elon Musk is developing Neuralink, and he's playing around with implanting computer chips in people's spinal column and brain
mhm.
to help them regain their muscle memory and that sort of thing. I have had this hunch that maybe in my lifetime, certainly afterwards, we'll be able to download someone's brain. I truly believe that. The information is stored there. The scary part to me is I don't know how you take the good and separate it from the bad. I mean, there's some things I just don't want anybody to know about me.
The
Thoughts I
cineplex of
have,
our mind. Remember?
dreams I've had, women that I've thought about. I don't know.
Right.
We really are. We probably should just stop right there because we're about to get in serious trouble here.
Yeah.
But just imagine if you could do that and you could retain the personality, the wisdom, and the knowledge of everybody who's walked the earth. And maybe you could somehow consolidate that? I don't know. It's really freakish when you think about it, but why is that not possible? Why is that not going to be possible? Do you think we can download a brain?
John, that is basically the commercial for Reflekta, right?
Fine, I'm happy to do it.
Right,
I'm happy I've done it.
right,
Let me give you my address when we
yeah,
get off the air, and you can send me my royalty.
that's
Okay.
right. Elon is also building a rocket. Yeah, Elon's building a rocket ship in case planet Earth is not good to go for the next 1,000 years. We have decided that we'll stay here and document the stories of the people of planet Earth to be shared in spontaneous and dynamic conversations forever. So that's all the wisdom, all of the backstories. But it's important to note, John, if you were the one that created your reflection, you would have the final say so as to which of those dreams made it in and which did not, right? It's not sourced from the outside, it's sourced from the inside.
Here's the problem I immediately see. It has taken a lifetime to collect these stories.
Mm-hmm.
Would it not take a lifetime to select and decide which stories go in and which stories don't?
Well, it's a good question. Our biographer actually takes an arc of a life, right? And it builds a skeleton of the main points of your life, your personality, your development, etc. And so it does prioritize, but if you want to go deeper on this subject or that subject, or my dad actually did not like talking about the fact that he did not go to school until fourth grade. The reason was he was one of 12 kids and they only had 3 pairs of shoes. He began school when he was in fourth grade because he got into the shoe cycle, but he was the first in his family to actually get to college. He got a scholarship at Mount Union College, played football for them as a captain. But he didn't like to talk about the poverty because he was ashamed of it. I look at it, my son, his grandson, looks at it as a great Horatio Alger story of a person that ended up barefoot and became an executive at New York Life, running a couple of offices in the Midwest and $1 million roundtable salesman. So you decide what goes in, no different than when you write about obituary with somebody, although you're under a lot of pressure because got to get the obituary out before the funeral, right? But the reality is, have you ever seen an obituary or a memorial service where it's like, yeah, John wasn't that good of a guy, right? Let's let's be done with it and move on,
Yeah,
right? That
really.
doesn't really happen. Everybody says these wonderful things about the life and times of XYZ. And so to a certain extent, you could start that way with the Reflekta. But I was a keeper for my father. I chose to include the barefoot story because it showed his grit and his resilience. And though that was a legacy I wanted to pass on to his grandchildren.
So, how does someone find Reflekta and I'm thinking purchase it, maybe?
Yeah, so reflekta.ai, that's Reflekta with a K, like reflection, but with a K, reflekta.ai. Look, you can go on, you can talk to my dad. His name is Arthur. You can ask him about me and ask him about, well, he won't know about the show yet, but he will eventually. And you can get a feel for what it's like. Virginia is my co-founder's grandmother. Wonderful story, ballerina in Europe back in the the 40s and 50s. And she's got these phenomenal stories as well. And so you talk to either one of those, or you can just start talking to our biographer. You do that, and you start to build the reflection of a person. Could be yourself, could be your mommy, your grandma that's in a senior center that wants to tell her story, wants to connect with her great grandchildren, wants that story to be preserved. Military personnel that are being deployed usually write a last letter. These guys can actually have an entire spontaneous and dynamic conversation with their kids and grandkids after they're gone. So the answer is reflekta.ai and start talking.
So, let me ask you do you share my concern that this world seems pretty crazy these days?
I love it. Yeah, sure. I have a pretty clear understanding of what I can control and what I can't control, and most of it is beyond my control.
What do you suppose Chief would identify as the 2026 top story of the year as we sit here in February thus far? What would you pick? What would Chief pick?
Well, Chief and his knowledge base is only during his lifetime, 1932 to 2017. So he'll opine upon things that happened afterward, but only in the context of his experience.
Okay, well let me just ask you then, Miles. What would you identify thus far in 2026 as the top story?
All right. So speaking for both Chief and Miles, I'm gonna give two. One is the fact that Chief Arthur has had 9,560 conversations with people in the last 30 days. That would be mind-boggling to him, even as an insurance salesman. And he would be so thrilled by the fact that AI had provided a platform that allowed him to continue to tell his stories over and over and over again without anybody getting bored. Second,
So AI has gotten a lot of attention, no question. But
right.
would that be the top story?
Okay.
No, just factually, what's the top story if we took headlines and news hours?
This year, I'm going with, once again, with the aid of AI and Palantir, Venezuela getting turned upside down in the matter of 6 hours.
Wrong. Anthony, go to Grok and ask what's the top story in 2026 so far. Let's see what Grok says. I'm going to say that I think it's Epstein. And I think every single day we learn more, and the more we learn, the more disgusted and concerned we grow.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
I have been watching YouTubers, some good, some not so good, but mostly people I watch I consider to be good and truthful and honest brokers. What is unraveling appears to be a satanic type exploitation of children. It is one of the most disturbing things I have ever seen or heard and have never, ever contemplated. I mean, the thought never entered my mind that people would do these things.
Right.
Yet we're finding out that not only did they exploit children for sex, but they may have actually engaged in sacrifices of children. You get your 14-year-old out of the room now.
Right.
This is bad stuff.
Right.
Really bad stuff.
I have a 12-year-old daughter, and this stuff lands with me as well. I also acknowledge that these are things that are outside of my control. And so those things that I can do within my control, I do, and the rest I leave.
I'm gonna challenge you to reconsider that statement. My paradigm is that they're all within our control if they're never going to happen again. And I think it is incumbent on every single person in America to stand up, join hands, and say, not on my watch. This is a crime that lacks forgiveness. And if it's true, and I don't know, but it's been just under the surface.
It looks pretty true.
For so long.
So there's a lot of it.
And I refused to look because I did not want to become depressed. But this is depressing me and it's angering me.
I can tell.
And I am really concerned about the future of our country because it reaches the highest levels in our government. Now, here's the point that I'm trying to get to. And I look, what I'm going to say will make me sound like a conspiratorialist. But damn it, I'm looking at what we're facing, what is confronting us on a daily basis. And I'm asking myself, does this make sense? Can I put rhyme or reason with it? I am ashamed to even say this. It makes me feel like I could lose my credibility completely. But I cannot and will not reject nor shirk my responsibilities to get people to think and to stand for things. And so where I'm going is, what are we not talking about this week when Pam Bondi is before Congress, right as we're recording this interview, speaking about Epstein? The news media is not covering it. Not much. What are we talking about? Savannah Guthrie's mother. Why? What the hell is going on? And I will just tell you that I have watched every news feed I can get because I really like Savannah Guthrie, in spite of the fact that she works for that bad network. I really like her. I mean, I'd never met her, but she's somebody that is just one of those people that you just like. And I've seen picture after picture after picture after picture after picture of her hugging and kissing her mother. Mm-hmm. And it's so sad to me. But the story, it's not holding up. Who's making the ransom demand? Who has kidnapped her mother? I just don't know.
I was remarking to my son last night. We were watching a little bit of the coverage, and not much, just enough to catch a quick bit. It's like, boy, that doesn't happen very much today with the surveillance, with the AI. There's a lot, it's hard to get lost today, and it's even harder to get lost with somebody else that perhaps doesn't want to be lost. Yeah, it's hard to do. You don't see these stories much anymore. And that was my only comment to my son. It was just like, we're living in a world where this is very hard to do.
No question. And I just, I'm looking at it. I'm trying to stay grounded. I'm trying to stay rational. But I'm just thinking to myself, why would anyone want to kidnap an 84-year-old mother and grandmother? And so we're led to believe that it's for Bitcoin, but evidently whoever made the demand for Bitcoin disappeared and went radio silent immediately after making the demand. So was the demand real? Is it fake? Is it phony? Was Savannah Guthrie's mother actually kidnapped by bad guys, or were the bad guys somebody else? I don't know. It's just, I'm looking at all the things and I'm trying, and I'm smart. Okay. I don't have a lot of talent in sports. I'm not coordinated. My hand-eye is getting better with age, actually, because I practice. I have stacks of paper all the time and I wad them up and I throw them into the trash can. I've gotten damn good. I can do it left-handed and right-handed. As long as I don't think about it, they go in the trash can. But I'm just saying, sports has never been my forte. Even though I've been athletic and I want to be good at sports, just not. But I'm smart and I can reason and I can problem solve. Those are my real strengths. I can't problem solve this. I cannot connect the dots. So I'm searching for answers. Oh, it was the son-in-law. He didn't get along with his mother-in-law. I don't know. No, it's a ransom note.
Sometimes there is no answer.
I just don't know. But I am genuinely concerned. And if it weren't for the fact that possibly the biggest news story in the 21st century is Epstein, and that we just got 3 million documents dumped last Friday night, and then Savannah Guthrie's mother is kidnapped. I don't know. And we're not talking about Epstein right now.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think? Do I need to, this bartender at a restaurant I go to told the owner they were barbing with one another one night. They just kid each other relentlessly. And she said, "Oh, don't worry, Mr. Tom, the bus is coming shortly. They'll take you back to the home." Should I get on the bus with Tom?
That's pretty funny.
You founded Money Hunt. It was a precursor to Shark Tank. And now you've got this wonderful app called Reflekta. And you've hiked the Saudi Arabian desert, and you wrote a book A Line in the Sand by Miles Spencer.
And Wells Jones, yes. Our second book comes out this month. It's Havana Familia. It's the same type of crazy adventure, but it happens just south of us in a place that's getting very interesting, and that is Havana, Cuba.
Yeah. And so, what's your thought? Is Cuba next?
Oh yeah. Look, it was founded by, the revolution was by the Fidel and the Comandantes. Anybody who was on the boat, it's the name of grandma that arrived in Cienfuegos and was part of the revolution. They're still running it. They're called the Comandantes. So they're all 95, and the people are starving. Nothing works. The power outages, garbage in the. There's no garbage in the streets actually, because it's all eaten. Okay, there's no garbage in the streets because people go around and take the garbage and make a stew out of it.
Oh,
But the Comandantes are probably like, it's not so bad for us.
we know shame on Russia and Cuba or China for not having taken better care of their minions in Cuba.
You could actually say Spain if you want to go back to the beginning of the 19th century. And frankly, the mob has their hands dirty as well. It was basically, the mob was formed in 1928 in the Nacional Hotel, and until 1958, it was a great run.
They brought tourism and commerce to Cuba, and people were enjoying a better life. Now, I'm not condoning the commerce that they brought, but I'm just saying I think the United States will be better stewards and will take better care of the Cubans, because I saw a video just last week of a guy who just jumped on an airplane in Fort Lauderdale and flew to Cuba and spent a week videoing it. It is mired in the 50s and poverty prevails. So I think, the Democrats, they're so virtuous. Let's go to Cuba and help these poor people. But it's also strategic for our national defense, as is Venezuela and maybe Colombia and maybe someday Mexico. I don't know.
Not advocating for any of that, but if it happens, it might be good for the people.
And we'll leave it at that. Miles Spencer, thank you for coming on The Truth today. I hope you had fun. We covered some pretty heavy stuff, didn't we?
John, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.